they're going with, and if it wouldn't work with us, they would just go on independently. This letter, I get a lot of letters, and this letter was something special. I could tell that. I could tell it was written by a special man about a special company. So he had invited me in this letter, if I had a further interest, to contact him, and he would be glad to come over with his associates and explain more about this business to me. Now, I don't know anything about tools, so I wasn't going to learn the specifics of a business in order to make a decision about purchasing the company, but rather I was going to make a decision about the people. And he came over, Jacob, Danny Goldman, and we sat and talked, and it reaffirmed the conclusion that I tentatively reached from reading his letter, namely that this was a very special company run by a very special management, and that if there were a way to do it, Berkshire Hathaway would like to acquire the company. Now, at that time, Eitan said, you have to come over and look at this. I mean, in the end, this is a matter of record. We spent $4 billion buying 80% of the company. So he said, if you're going to spend something like $4 billion, the least you can do is come over to Israel and look at the company. And I said, I won't know anything after I get over there. I won't be able to find the men's room in the plant. So I will make a decision based on how I evaluate the business from its numbers, but also how, much more importantly, how I evaluate its future from the people who will be running it in the future. Well, that was a lucky day for me. And Eitan subsequently said, well, if you buy the company, will you come over? And I said, okay, if I buy the company, I'll come over. And after we bought the company, I did go over, and I went to their operations in Israel, and I saw the most impressive manufacturing operation I'd ever seen in my life. And Eitan said, well, he said, I told you it would be like this. Why didn't you come over before me? I said, well, if I'd seen it, and what a wonderful operation you had, I would have paid more money, so I'm glad I didn't come over. I guess that's what he meant about that wallet part of the introduction. In any event, it's been a terrific association for Berkshire. Everything they said was there and much more. It was the chance to associate, Berkshire to associate itself with really one of the great manufacturing enterprises with loads of growth ahead of it, with an incredible management team that works like no group I've ever seen. And I don't travel very much, but when Eitan asked me to join with the management group to come and visit Tagatek in India, I had to say yes, and I'm glad I said yes. This is my first trip to India. The first step I took in India was in Bangalore, and unfortunately I described myself to the media here a while back as being a little retarded in coming here. I think I'm looking for another word to describe my behavior. That's gotten picked up in the press. But wasn't the smartest thing I ever said. But it is a real pleasure to be here. Every minute since I've been here, I've been meeting interesting people. I've seen our wonderful plant, which is just getting started. It's only been 10 years. And in the next 10 years, you're going to see miracles in terms of the development of that operation. And the reason you'll see some of those miracles is that we're operating in India, which is opening up in terms of opportunity, by the day. And fortunately, Tagatek fits right into the structure of an industrial base that's just gathering momentum by the day and the week and the year. So we're riding a tidal wave in India, and right now we have 30% of the market. I've set a tentative goal for getting to 105% in a few years, and I look forward to coming back before that even we've had a great time here, learning more about your country and meeting some wonderful people, and I thank you for coming today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. May I now ask Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan to commence the interaction with his first question to Mr. Buffett.
So Warren, the first question is a macro question. The world economy was booming before 2008, then went into a downturn. It's now recovering. But all through the boom, the downturn, the recovery, we have seen the disparity of income increasing in China, which is an authoritarian capitalism. It's increasing in the US, it's increasing in India, characterized as democratic capitalism. So is there a better model we need to look at for capitalism to address this issue of growing disparity and inequality?
Which disparity? Well, capitalism is, as you say, is working in three different forms in the economies you mentioned. But the interesting thing is how extraordinary it's working under somewhat different, modified forms of capitalism. What it tells you is that a market system, admittedly handled in somewhat different ways in those three countries, but basically you have three huge economies, all kinds of human talent, all kinds of human energy, but at one time or another in their history, really not gaining very much year by year in terms of what output of goods and services for the average person in those countries. They've now found their own way to a secret of unleashing human potential. And you see these countries responding in a way to a market system that tells them what people want. And then when you get that, you find people, innovators in these countries, thinking about what people are going to want before they know they want it. And having the opportunity to turn those ideas into products and services. So I think the world is just beginning on this. I think the United States had something of a head start. We came upon a system several hundred years ago that involved a market system to a degree, a rule of law, equality of opportunity, none of these perfect, but all heading in that direction. And the combination of those factors started unleashing human potential, which for centuries had really been neglected. And India, China, as you mentioned, somewhat different versions of it, but both those countries are exploding in terms of opening up the human potential that really has been there all along. You're not working harder in India than you were 100 years ago. People in China aren't working harder than they were 100 years ago. They're working smarter. They're responding to the needs of their society, and it's just getting started in my view, and it will be interrupted. There will be hiccups that occur in all of these countries, and there may be inflation, there may be bubbles, there may be various things. I mean, it's not an uninterrupted progress, but it's dramatic progress over time, and I just wish I were being born today, because the next century is going to be so exciting in terms of what happens for humans around the world.
May I ask Mr. Chandrasekhar to ask a question?
This is more regarding your personality. You are a rare combination of business acumen and large-hearted philanthropy. You give away as much as you make, and you continue to make more to give more. So what has been your life's objectives? What are the things that shaped your life and thoughts, which has made you what you are today?
Well, I have been very, very lucky in life, and that I have been exposed to some extraordinary human beings, and they became my heroes, and none of my heroes has ever let me down. You know, here I am, 80 years of age, and some of them there was an emphasis on business, some of them an emphasis on investing, some of them just an emphasis on human behavior. But I learned from others, and I saw what kind of a life I really wanted to have by watching others. And the two biggest influences were my father and my first wife. But I've had a number of other dramatic influences as well, at least a dozen or more. But if I meet students all of the time. In fact, I've had students from IIT come over to Omaha, and I tell them that the most important job they'll ever have is being a parent. And you don't get to do it a second, there's no reruns. You have to do it right the first time. And that you will learn far before you even know language. You will start learning about the world. And fortunately, I had a father I never saw him do anything that I wouldn't be proud of, but that he would be proud of. And so I had that marvelous teacher that way. I still wasn't turning out so well. And then I was lucky.